Hey guys, we're First Seed Sports here with some Week 15 action. As we've pivoted lately, we're kind of only doing starts instead of starts and sits. This week, you can see we're a little short, missing Dante. We're missing Mike. We just had a big storm come through here, so they're actually missing power. So it's just the way that it goes, but the show must go on. So they sent us their picks, and Kyle and I are here to deliver them to you. So let's get right into it. Kyle, who is your first start of the week?
My first start of the week is T.Y. Hilton. I've got to admit, these past couple of weeks are a huge surprise to me. I felt like this was just kind of T.Y.'s disappearing year. But he, in the past 3 weeks, it's 18, 25, and 25 points. Uh, that's what you want to see out of a wide receiver. And luckily, he plays Houston this week. And T.Y. historically against the Texans dominates, and it doesn't matter. And this is why 2 weeks ago, when this was a narrative, he was going to face Houston, dominate, and he did. I was skeptical, but he did it, and sure enough, I'm all in. I think he's going to do it again. I'm going for it. Let's go Ty.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think 2Y is a great pick here, especially given the fact that one, we've seen a resurgence in him. It's almost as if Philip Rivers has remembered that he does have a wide receiver one on the field with him, and T.Y. Hilton is that good. While there is a little bit of a size difference, I'm just kind of going based off the wide receiver one kind of mantra. But Allen Robinson feasted on the Texans last week. He put up a massive 27 fantasy points on 13 targets, 9 receptions, and 123 yards with a touchdown. Like that's an unbelievable performance. So even if Ty can put up a portion of that, you're still going to be happy with 20 points, 18, 17 points. So I love him as a start this week as well.
All right. And then, did you want to hit with your start?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry, I got all confused there. All right. My start of the week actually this week is going to be Chris Godwin. Sticking with the wide receiver train here, Chris Godwin is kind of he's been up and coming. He had the broken finger that he was dealing with for a while. He got the pins or whatever he had in it out finally, and he's kind of starting to get back into the flow of things. He's been a consistent performer recently with games of let me get him pulled up here. With games of 15, 18, and 17. He had a little bit of a dud last week with a 4-point game, but it was just a weird week. It seemed like Brady was the reason last week that no one was playing well. He was off, and it threw the whole system off. But regardless, this week, Godwin actually plays I lost my team here. He plays a very weak Atlanta team that Keenan Allen went off against last week. He had a monster game, especially in the PPR outlook of it. So I think that, again, similarly kind of comparing receivers, I think Godwin and Keenan Allen are kind of out of the same mold, out of that tough slot reception type of guy. So I look for a huge week out of Chris Godwin this week.
Yeah, he had that weird stint with the injury wizard where it was all week. It was like, what the heck is going on with Chris Godwin? He's getting a bunch of surgeries, but he's playing. And last week he was in for 87% of snaps. He didn't do too well, but I mean, if he stays on the field for that long, and if Brady figures something out, Godwin's a great play. I love it.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, looking forward to next year, it also seems like he's going to be one of those under the radar guys. He's going to fly in probably the 4th, 5th round, and if he keeps this up and he's a 15 to 20 point per game kind of guy, that's going to be huge for your fantasy team. That's all you can ask for out of a wide receiver too. When you have a Julio who's going to give you 38 one week and then maybe 5 the next week, to pair that with a Chris Godwin who's always going to give you that safe floor, that's going to be incredible. So, okay, but let's move on. Kyle, do you have another start for me?
My next start is Brandon Ayuk. I love this man. His playoff schedule is dynamite. Last week was actually his worst opponent for fantasy points, and he dominated again. Let's see, what are the numbers here? This week he plays Dallas, who has given up the 6th most points to fantasy wide receivers. And last week he put up 21 points. The week before, 20 points. He's going off. He's had 25 targets in the past 2 weeks. That's insane. I think every week since week 8 that he's played, he missed 2 weeks. He's had at least 9 targets. He's dominating. And he's scoring in almost every game. And he's got Dallas this week, Arizona next week. who is the 7th most points to the receivers. He's a great play this week and next week. He's going to be on a bunch of championship teams. I love Ayuk.
Yeah, he's a great play this week. I'm all on board with that. Everything that you mentioned, just I really don't even have a lot to add other than the fact that Debo went down, and that just paved the way for him to be the number one there. And especially with Nick Mullins, who seems to really like throwing the ball to him, it's a match made in heaven. So I think that he's a great start this week. And it's amazing that San Francisco has kind of set themselves up for the future with these two wide receivers that they've managed to grab, two kind of under the radar type of names. They weren't the Justin Jeffersons, the Jerry Jeudy. But wow, their production has been off the charts. So I love the start this week. Long story short. And go ahead, Kyle. I think you're also going to give us Mike's start of the week. So who do you got?
Mike's start of the week is Cam Akers, and I absolutely agree with him on this pick. Cam Akers, he's showing up. It's his time to shine in LA, and McVay is allowing it, and it's flourishing. The past 3 weeks, he's had 14 PPR points, 16, 21, and it's just going to continue. Last week, he had 21 points against the New England Patriots, and this week they get the Jets. Now, lately, the Jets, I think they started the year as the absolute worst team or best team to fantasy running backs, and lately it's kind of dipped. But truthfully, I think that's just because teams face them and just want to show off their passing game and throw it. So I think Cam Akers, I think LA gets in the lead, probably with the Cam Akers score or two, and then they just continue to run it. And he's just going to touch the ball a ton. He had 29 rush attempts last week. He's going to get the ball. He's going to do fantastic with that ball. And Cam Akers, start of the week for Mike, and I agree.
Yeah, Kyle, quite honestly, you hit the nail on the head there. I don't have much more to add to other than that. He's just been up and up and up. I've owned Malcolm Brown, I've owned Darrell Henderson in a couple leagues, and I'm discouraged as an owner of them because Cam Akers is the star of the show at this point. Everyone kind of expected it to happen, and it's finally happening just in time for fantasy playoffs. So if you have him, start him. I think that's the lesson learned here.
Absolutely.
All right, so I'll hop in again. I'm going to give you guys my second start of the week, and it is Robert Tonyan, the tight end for the Green Bay Packers. Long story short, Tonyan plays the Carolina Panthers this week, who have just recently bled points to the tight end position. I was thrilled last week. I had Noah Fant going up against the Panthers. He had whatever happened to him last week. That was just a nightmare. So I can't really talk too much about that. But even with him out, tight ends Nick Vannett and I'm gonna have to try to pronounce this other guy's name here.
Oh yeah.
God. Is it Arthur A? Is that his name? Let me see. Let me get it up in front of me so I can try to pronounce it here. It is it's Fumagalli. Okay, I can do that one. Troy Fumagalli. Between Fumagalli and Vannett last week, they had 8 receptions for 73 yards and a touchdown. I know you can't really smash two tight ends together, but Tonyan is really the only show in town on the Packers, and he's been up and coming in a huge
in the tight end room.
What did I say there? Sorry.
You said only show in town in Green Bay, but there's plenty of shows.
There's
in Green
probably
Bay.
a guy named Devontae Adams. He's a little. You might have heard of him. Sorry, my brain's going on. I'm dreaming about Tonyan here. He's the only show in town at the tight end position for Green Bay. Let me go with that. Sternberger really hasn't been there. Hasn't been any factor this season. So it's really become Tonyan, and he's been hot. He's had 5 targets in each of the last 4 games, and he's on a 4-game touchdown streak. That's hard to ignore too. So when your tight end is getting you consistently 13, 14, 15, 16 points a game, that's going to help you win games. So that's what he's been proven to do recently, and he's also gotten a fantastic schedule moving forward. Just to name a few, I keep losing my tabs here, man. I'm struggling this week. Just to name a few, Tonyan plays, obviously this week he has the Carolina Panthers, but then after that, he plays the Tennessee Titans, and if you're one of the psychopaths that plays in Week 17, he's got the Chicago Bears as the last matchup. So, and both of them are also really weak against the tight end position. So I'm all aboard the Tonyan train here, and he's my start of the week.
I feel like I love Tonyan as well as you, and it's because he kind of disappeared. He had that 33-point game in Week 4 against Atlanta, and then he just disappeared. And then these past 4 weeks, he has been probably the most consistent tight end not named Travis Kelce or TJ Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the tight end position. So if I've got Tonyan, I'm smashing it. I love it because I know he's going to find the end zone or have meaningful touches that will make up for a lack of a touchdown. But I think he finds the end zone, and Tonyan in this offense against this awful tight end defense, it's a great play.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a big fan this week, to say the least. So the last thing we want to touch on is Dante's start of the week, and that is actually Mike Davis, the running back for the Carolina Panthers. On the other side of this matchup, as we talked about Tonyan, the Panthers' running game is kind of set to hopefully gash the Packers a little bit. It's been a recent trend that the Packers haven't been too great against rushing offenses. And Mike Davis has provided a nice spark for the Carolina backfield. Last week, he's never been a huge rushing yardage guy, but if you watch him play, he's a lot more dynamic than his stat line kind of shows. Last week he went for 11 carries for 51 yards, and he found the end zone twice last week in the rush game, which is huge, and that can really, really boost that value of a running back, especially a PPR guy like Mike Davis, who's kind of dependent on the catches and the touchdowns to boost that value. Last week he also had 5 catches for 42 yards, which right there is an extra 10 points in the bank. So again, against a weak Green Bay defense, rush defense, I should say. I think that Mike Davis has a lot of value this week, and I like Dante's start of the week here.
As a CMC owner in the playoffs, I am eternally grateful for Mike Davis and basically winning me my week last week with that 26 PPR point bonanza. And I don't see why he couldn't do that again this week. He had a rough stretch before their bye week 13. I mean, he had 15 and 10 points. But before that, it was 4 weeks in a row where he struggled to get past 9 PPR points. But I think this Carolina team slightly figured something out. They realized they can run Mike Davis into the ground because Christian McCaffrey is somewhere. Mm-hmm. They know he's alive. So they're just going for it. And Green Bay, like you said, has a very bad rush defense. And I think Mike Davis plays extremely well and makes fantasy owners proud.
Yeah, and one last thing to add on to it, I just kind of think that it's underspoken a little bit how competitive the Panthers have been this year. All of these games, they are right there. It's kind of like they're so close to just flipping that switch from being a 4-9 team right now or something like that, from flipping the switch from 4-9 to being a 9-4 team, because they played with the Chiefs. Last week they played with the Broncos. Granted, they should have beaten the Broncos last week. That was a game they probably should have won. But, other games they played with the Saints. It's just been – they just need to flip that switch and make that jump to the next level. And I think CMC might be the piece that does that for them. He's kind of a game breaker. So not to get away from the point, but I do think that this game could potentially be a shootout, and we could see a lot of usage out of Mike Davis. So love the start, Dante. That brings us to the end, Kyle. Those are our 6 starts of the week. We in recap, let's see. I have my 2 were Chris Godwin and Robert Tonyan. You had T.Y. Hilton and Brandon Ayuk. Mike had Cam Akers, and Dante had Mike Davis. So that's what we got. You got anything else to add?
No, I just hope people advanced last week in the playoffs, and I know you got the bye in one of our leagues and got tossed out as the 2 seed in another, and
Let's not
you'll
talk
be all
about
right.
that league. Let's not talk about that one. That was my super flex league that underperformed. I only put up 104 points in super flex, and I don't have an answer for that. I'm blaming Kyler Murray.
Blame it all on him.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. Well, that's all we got, guys. That's all that we have for this week. That is our starts of the week. Once again, let us know. Give us any of your roster questions on Twitter at First Seed Sports. That's all we got. For Kyle, I'm Zach, Mike, and Dante. We'll see you guys next time.